Last week in court, Hunter Biden pled not guilty to the following 3 gun charges. First count was false statement in purchase of a firearm. Second count was false statement related to information required to be kept by federal firearm license dealer. And the third count, possession of a firearm by a person who is an unlawful user of or addicted to a controlled substance. And all 3 of those stem from the same thing, signing a document saying that he is not addicted to a controlled substance and making a statement attesting to that while purchasing the gun. So all 3 of those are based on essentially the same statement. Now, as of yesterday, the initial plea bargain he made is officially completely dead, following the U.S. District Judge in the case, Maryellen Noreika, formally removing the previous gun charge that was a part of the collapsed plea deal. Now, the deadline for pretrial motions in the case is November 3rd, and no future hearings have been scheduled. As of right now, special counsel David Weiss has yet to file new charges related to unpaid taxes, which Hunter Biden had previously been set to plead guilty to as a part of the plea deal. But as I mentioned, that's pretty much up in the air. Plea deal's off. But we are expecting to see the indictments on those tax charges. And we've talked about this a lot on TYT. He didn't pay his taxes, and then he was instructed by the IRS to do so, and he paid all of them. I fully concur with the statements that Hunter Biden's attorney has made that this is largely a political prosecution in an attempt to damage Joe Biden's reputation moving into the election, because people don't get jail time for this. It never happens. I'm sorry. People do not get jail time for these types of charges. And Hunter Biden is currently staring down the barrel of jail time. Not saying he didn't break the law. He absolutely did. He absolutely broke the law. But the treatment of him is distinctly different than the treatment of other people with the same exact charges. Now, as I mentioned, there's a lot of speculation about how this might affect the 2024 election. And it's obvious that Trump, or whoever's running against Biden in the general election, Trump will milk this to discredit Joe Biden. Another issue is how it may, affect Joe Biden as a candidate's attention, especially given he's still sitting president with all of those responsibilities in mind. Now, this is a major concern of Biden aides, who note that Joe didn't run in 2016 because of the death of his son, Beau, when he had this to say: "No man or woman should announce for president of the United States unless they can look the public in the eye and say, 'I promise you, I am giving 100% of my attention and dedication to this effort.'" And when asked by MSNBC's Stephanie Ruhle how Hunter's charges would affect him, he said, "It impacts my presidency by making me feel proud of him." Now, inside sources are painting a slightly different picture than the one Joe Biden has been publicly. From NBC News, Biden 80 has even since lamented aloud that he might be dead before his son's case would be resolved, according to another source close to the Bidens. Oof, that isn't something you want to get out to the press. The president and first lady are even more reluctant to hear about any of the political implications from close aides, and are resigned to the fact that Hunter's legal problems will likely worsen in the months ahead, this person said. Now, a source close to the Biden said that Hunter is now similarly steeling his spine for both the legal and political sparring to come. And Jackson, we've talked about the prevalence of drug use and the impact that this might have on the feelings of the American public. I think that the Republicans are overplaying their hand, that they fail to understand how close addiction has hit home to many Americans, and how this has, by and large, painted Joe Biden as a very loving father. And juxtaposed to Donald Trump, who obviously doesn't give a damn about his children. I think that they are overestimating the impact this will have on the opinion of the electorate. However, it's obviously heavily plaguing Joe Biden personally.
Yeah, I think it's hitting Joe Biden personally. How could it not? It's his son. But at the same time, I don't think, as you pointed out, it would overshadow the fact that Donald Trump has almost 100 felony charges. He's in the process of losing his ability to legally make money. And he's spiraling out of control every single day. Mm-hmm. And as you pointed out too, I mean, what are the big gripes against Hunter Biden, who mind you, is not in office of any kind. He's not in Congress. He's not in the White House administration, none of that. So it's really to no consequence. But what are their biggest gripes? As you pointed out, oh, he was hooked on drugs, like a lot of people are for many different reasons, including legal prescription drugs, which was part of Donald Trump's 2016 campaign. We're gonna stop these pharmaceutical companies from getting away with murder. So you could just flip that on its head right there. And then what? Oh, he didn't pay his taxes. Well, as you pointed out, he ended up paying his taxes. Many Americans get a knock on the door by the IRS like, hey, you owe us $10,000, but they'd rather get a little bit of it than none of it. And I mean, who's Donald Trump or any of the Trumps to talk about? I mean, the tax fraud is how they made their money. So I think just with halfway decent political strategy, you can just be like, Trump's much worse. Trump's much worse. Look, Hunter Biden's a human being and he went through some stuff. So as you pointed out, they're definitely overplaying their hand because who cares? Like nobody cares.
Right. I mean, I feel the Republicans strongly believe that this will be a rallying cry to their base. Of course, most reasonable people will say, well, Hunter Biden isn't running for anything. If you can prove that this has some sort of, implication on Joe Biden, which the Republicans are desperately trying to do in their, impeachment inquiry.
He can't even raise his son right type of thing. You know what I'm saying? I guess that's what it is,
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's interesting for sure. We'll see where this goes. Obviously, the plea deal is off, which seems like blatant politicking on behalf of the judge involved as well as the prosecutors. Most people don't go to jail for these types of charges. I can't imagine if he was anyone else that they wouldn't have accepted the plea agreement. And we're still awaiting for these tax charges to come down as the investigation happens. But let's take a minute to talk about how a special counsel was appointed to investigate this, which is exactly what the Republicans asked for. In fact, the exact special investigator they asked for was the one appointed to investigate this matter. They still complained about it. Ted Cruz still went on TV and said, actually, that man is an unfair Democrat and we don't want him investigating, despite the fact that it was the exact person, the exact individual, David Weiss, that Ted Cruz is on camera calling for to be the special counsel in the first place. So no matter what happens in this case, Republicans are going to use it as a way to attack Biden. No matter if they get everything they ever wanted, it's still somehow going to be used as an attack on Joe Biden.
Well, just so everyone knows, there's a couple of candidates running against Ted Cruz. And there's also a political action committee called the Lose Cruz PAC. In other words, most people don't like Ted Cruz, which is so interesting about him. He's like a strong pillar of a vote and he pushes forth the Republican agenda shamelessly, but everybody despises him. I mean, the dude was just on TV saying like, oh, Democrats don't want you to drink beer. Oh, and then he drank a beer like a big tough guy because, Democrats don't want capitalism. And then he was just saying like, there's a plot for Michelle Obama. She's going to end up running. So now I'm just thinking about Ted Cruz, and I guess it's because we have to talk about this today. But now I'm just thinking about how much I despise him. I don't have anything else to say.
I love the video that you're talking about, and if anyone watching hasn't seen it yet, go check it out. It is one of the most awkward videos I've ever seen. Ted Cruz is standing in what is a barn at a ranch, and he's surrounded by men all wearing the same sort of outfit behind him. And he says something about how Democrats don't want you to drink beer. And then they all twist off the caps of their beer and take a swig at the same time and look at the TV, look at the camera.
Super satisfied, right? They look super satisfied, like someone's really stopping them from drinking alcohol. But
it is just some hilarious political stunt that they did on Fox News that had nothing to do with the ranchers he was supposedly there to talk to.
For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.